Mad World Coach Sess checking in. We are going to talk about Fight For It 19 coming up and some matches that caught my attention. It's not about who wins and loses. The reason these matches catch my attention is because of the championship implications. So I'm pulling straight from the Instagram account of Fight For It with the latest matchups they have, some rumor mill rumblings, and I'm also pulling from mixedmartialarts.com and Tapology. So I'm checking out the card, and I see some interesting matchups that make me ask the question, or not so much the question, but make the observation of the championship pedigree that this card has already. And you guys have heard me talk about it. You know, it's those same top tier teams I'm always talking about. You know, GMO, Highest Stand, Elevate, Combat Sports. You know, I'm always talking about these same gyms. Now you have to throw Matrix in there. Team Rock of all variations. The same names, same best teams fighting against one another. Body Shot Combat Club. There's another team that I have to throw in that mix. And it's pretty much evident that in this card, there's several fights that have championship pedigree. And not a championship match, you know, in every one of these fights. But there's some championship pedigree and implications in every one of these fights. So I'm going to break down first some of the fights. Let me see here. Let me find the one I'm looking for. It is Emmanuel Simpson taking on Josh Cook. Now, neither one of these guys have been in a championship MMA fight. I don't know too much about their other curricular activities in terms of boxing, kickboxing, and things of that nature. But for right now in MMA, I don't see where they've had a championship fight. But if Cook should win, he would move on to 6-0. I think that would qualify him at the 145 pound to take on Drew Pais, who is the 145 champ for Fight For It. I think that would qualify him. And he's on a roll. I think he said he's on a 4-fight win streak. So if he used to get by Emmanuel Simpson, this would be his 5th fight. Now, Simpson, on the other hand, Simpson has competed as heavy as 55 all the way down to 35. My thing is that he's actually had more fights scheduled at the bantamweight. I'm not sure what Emmanuel's trying to do. If he wants to be a bantamweight, if he wants to be a featherweight, he's got one win as a featherweight, and he actually has a win. He's 3-2. He has a win in every weight class from bantamweight to featherweight up to 55. So he's got to find a home. So I don't know if you give him the title shot with the win. So if he wins, he goes to 4-2. I'm not sure if he gets that title shot, but it wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt on the local scene based on the idea that, you know, we still have gaps to fill in all these weight classes. But I think this fight has championship implications, definitely for Cook. And if we don't find an opponent at 45 that's more deserving, maybe a rematch between the last champ. Forgive me for forgetting his name right now, but maybe if we don't get that rematch, then yeah, Simpson fills in. So I think, you know, potentially these guys, Cook sits at number 1 with the win, and Emmanuel probably sits at number 2 with the win. My point being is that this fight has championship implications. Both fighters are on the upside with their records. So this is really good, interesting outlook in terms of what the championship pedigree going forward is going to start to look like in Fight For It. This is pretty interesting. Let's move on. Sebastian Quevedo coming out of Team Rock Hasburg taking on Deuce Carter. So Deuce Carter is the kickboxing champ for Fight For It. All right. And Deuce Carter has defeated a fantastic MMA fighter in kickboxing, Devin Wynn. Okay, Deuce can strike. Deuce is an amazing striker. Quevedo's an amazing mixed martial arts fighter, but here's the problem. Quevedo's still young. Quevedo is got that fire inside him, and he is going to, if he gets hit, I don't think he's the type that desperation shoots and tries to take Deuce Carter down. I think he's the type that's going to stand up and bang with Deuce Carter. Also, because Quevedo is starting to move up the ranks. He's also a proven finisher, strong in the grappling. Deuce has never been stopped. So this is a fight that Quevedo's got to fight from beginning to end. And if you're going to fight beginning to end, why not show your wares against a guy who's already a champion? To me, this fight is very important for Quevedo because it's going to make a statement about where his championship pedigree really lies right now. So that fight right there is probably going to be the fight, a show stealer. I told you the last time when Quevedo fought Isaiah King, they're fighting for the love and the hug of the people. Now this fight, they're not in their hometowns, but I'm telling you, with Quevedo coming out of Team Rock Harrisburg and Deuce coming out of Road Combat Club, I mean, you can't get better competition than that. So, this is a lot of, not necessarily bragging rights, but damn sure a lot of pride in these fights right here. And I still think that Deuce is just going to have that experience on him from so much competition. Quevedo, a little younger. Now, Deuce is not an old man. Deuce is only like 26, 27 years old. So Deuce is not an old man by any means. But Quevedo's definitely a little bit younger, got that fire. He's going to make Deuce fight. The trick is that if he brings his true MMA skill to bear, then he might get a decision. I don't know if you can finish. Deuce is tough. Deuce doesn't get the credit he deserves a lot of times. And I think that he's 1-1 in MMA and hasn't been stopped. I think the mistake would be to look at Deuce and say he's only a kickboxer. My perspective would be that dude's a champion and I need to treat him as such. I need to go into the fight game with my strategy and my mindset based on he's a champion and you've only got a certain amount of time to really exploit that, to try to use that as the fact that he's done more kickboxing than MMA, try to use that to your advantage. And because you got to keep in mind, he's been in those late rounds in the kickboxing because he's been in the championship rounds. So he's put the time in. So this fight's going to be probably my show stealer, but definitely that championship pedigree is threaded throughout all of these fights, and it's definitely in this fight. Let's keep it moving. Now we know about the main event, Saraceno and Trukon Carson. I'm continually giving you my point of view. It just has not changed. It's just updated. It's got some more stuff added to it. Like I said recently, Trukon has shown that his ability to go to the grappling is very evident, that he can use it, which makes a powerful striker very dangerous. Very dangerous. Reason being is because now you have a threat on two fronts. And so when Tanner does get him down, and I believe Tanner could probably take him down. And I think Tanner is going to be a better defensive grappler than his last opponent. Not that he's a defensive grappler, but just a better defense, that he won't get caught in the silly guillotine going down to the ground. And even if he does, he'll know how to properly escape it. He'll know how to properly position his body because, he's relatively long in this weight class. So, and he's more experienced. Tanner has more fights. I don't think you surrender that suddenly, championship fight. It's a 5-round fight. I think he takes his time, and let the fight happen. Trukon has not been in MMA for a while. He just got his legs back a few months ago. And that fight didn't go very long. So, you know, Tanner is in a strong position. He's just got to stay calm and use it. You know, very strong team behind him, very strong camp. Another one of those fights where I say, you know, you got Jimmo, you got Revolution, where just some of the best teams are matched up against one another. So it's going to come down to a lot of moving elements, a lot of moving parts. You know, the fight IQ of the individuals, and also the planning and the camp training preparation put in by each camp, each team. Lot going on here, but definitely another fight with that championship pedigree threaded all through it. Maybe Trukon walks out with his first title defense, or maybe we hear the words "and new." Yes, sir. Let's keep it moving. Another fight that's championship fight, heavyweight kickboxing. You got Josh Fuller coming out of Matrix MMA, James Parks. I'm not 100% sure which team Parks is with, because the last time I saw him, he was with Ricky Rainey, and Ricky Rainey is one of those guys who can train just about with any team he wants. He's well respected throughout the community, and I'm not 100% sure if Ricky has a team name. I thought I heard he did, but I just can't think of it right now. But like I said, the sniper Ricky Rainey definitely is one of the more recognized names, and so if he's like opening up his own place and doing some coaching, let me tell you, that's a top gym already then, you know, and that goes back, I want to say 6 months that I heard about it. So Parks, like I said, the last time I saw him, he was with Ricky Rainey, but you know, just standing on Parks' skill when I saw him in his last fight, taking on Anthony Campbell from Conquer Muay Thai. This guy can fight. This guy can fight. This guy can kick. That's the first thing that I recognized about him. I forget which Fight For It was. It might have been 15 or 16 when I first saw him. And the one thing that stood out was, this big man can kick. He is a kicking fool. If you watch the most recent fight night, not the fight night, it was UFC. I want to say it's the one where it was let me see, Paulo Costa taking on Robert Whittaker. Although Whittaker got the win, did you see the way that Paulo Costa was just throwing up those kicks at 205? Well, Parks is a heavyweight. He throws his kicks up just as smooth as Paulo Costa was doing just a few weeks back. Go check it out if you have not seen it. And go to the Fight For It page and, you know, go to YouTube and type in James Parks kickboxing, Fight For It, whatever keywords you need. I guarantee you will agree that this guy is a kicking fool. This guy can kick for such a big man. He can kick a lot. He attacks the legs. I'm impressed. And Fuller's got some pop. Fuller's got some speed for a big man, especially in the boxing realm. A lot of confidence. Every time I've seen him in the dressing room, a lot of confidence, a lot of calm, a lot of composure. Because we're not talking about a guy who has, 14, 15 kickboxing fights. We're talking about a guy with just a few. But I believe this is going to be a very interesting kickboxing matchup. And again, with championship implications, because Parks is the champ. And I don't see on the poster where it says he's defending his title, but I believe that it's a title match. And even if he doesn't, it's the fact that if Fuller pulls off a win over the champ, that would definitely make this, a great rematch if it's not a championship fight already. But I do believe that it's a championship fight. It's just for some reason not listed. The last time I saw it, it was listed for me where either I heard it from Marcelo or I got it somewhere, but I thought this was a championship fight. So. Champ Camp. Let's keep it moving with another fight that has championship pedigree written through it. Okay, so Mason Wester, they spelled his name wrong. Mason Wester taking on Drew Pais. Maybe I'm spelling Mason's wrong. I always thought his name was Wester, not Webster. Let me look that up real quick. So I've been calling my own teammate by the wrong name for so long. No, I am correct. According to interweb searches, he is Wester, not Webster. You know what? Honestly, I don't think that makes a big deal right now. But Mason is definitely, he's an Army Combatives champion from the All-American tournament going back 2022, I do believe. 23, maybe 22. And Drew Pais is the Fight For It 145 featherweight champ. So again, that pedigree of the championship thread is shown in that fight as well. Which and what I'm trying to do here is show you the matchups that Marcelo is putting together. We're not just putting together good guys. We're putting together guys who have other backgrounds. We're putting together guys who are champions in other sports. We're putting together guys who just understand what it takes to be champion. That's the thread here. These are guys that are really doing exactly the name of the company. They're fighting for it. You're either fighting for the gold, you're fighting for the respect, or you're fighting for the status that you've already earned, and you're trying to keep it. You're trying to keep that status so you can keep moving forward. You know, just like I mentioned, Josh Cook, this guy's on a run. He's the immovable object. The dude is moving forward. He doesn't want to stop until he gets the gold. He gets the belt wrapped around him, hand raised. That's what makes these fights so compelling. That everybody in these fights has something to look forward to, something to aspire to. And in most of these fights right here, we pretty much just have guys on either side of that cage who have drawn a line in the sand and said, this is where it stops. If you're going to take something from me, you're going to have to do it right now, right here. There is no walking over me. There is no excuses. You're going to have to do it. To be the man, you have to beat the man. I think all of these guys right here are saying, then bring it. Give me whatever you think you have inside of you, but don't leave any of it behind. Leave it inside of this cage. Leave it inside of this cage tonight. And that's what you're seeing with all of these young men. Especially again, with all these fights that I mentioned that have championship implications, and going into the next fight, there's already a story written in for the next fight for some of these guys. Now, this fight's at 55. Here's the story. Drew is the 45 champion. Drew Pais wants to be the 55 champion. Now, we'll have to talk about that one in a second here. Now, Drew Pais is testing the waters here at 55. He has fought as heavy as 50. So I think Drew is doing it smartly. You say, you know what? I want to go up and test the waters in these bigger weight classes. I incrementally go up. I don't take on the champion of the division. I don't take on the number one contenders. I take on guys who kind of, have to work their way back toward things. Mason's on a 1 win streak, and I think Pais is on a 4 or 5 win streak. So this is a good match for both of these guys. Webster's been out for a while, so he's the bigger guy. It's a fight for him to come back and figure out where he is in the 55 division or in MMA at all. And Pais is doing his strategy. Can you see how both men have a story? They're chasing something, and they just happen to be the obstacles in one another's way. That's the beautiful part about what Marcelo has done here with some of these matchups. Let's keep it moving. Now, in the 55 division, Jacob Pais, who is the brother of Drew Pais, is going to fight Brandon Gasca from Team Elevate. Now, Brandon just picked up a title at Samurai Fighting Championships. And I've got the opportunity and the privilege to spend some time in the training room with Brandon Gasca. Elevate versus Matrix MMA. If you heard my commentary, my favorite 2 teams of last year were Elevate and Matrix MMA. So I'm going to be a huge fan of this fight in particular, the head-to-head matchup, the direct head-to-head matchup when it comes to MMA. And let's be honest, we all know that the smaller weight classes are usually, the more skilled fighters. So this is definitely one that I'm looking forward to. Who gets it? Brandon's got amazing wrestling and training with Cody Malte. I know that his jiu-jitsu skills are going to be off the chain, and Pais is definitely probably going to have the striking advantage. That's what's going to make this so fun. But at the end of the day, what is really true about both of these fighters is that they are legit mixed martial arts fighters. I don't see them leaning toward that one skill or the other. Now, Pais has been in a championship fight, and he lost by like a really close decision. So he's not unfamiliar with going the rounds. So this is going to be a very interesting fight. It's my personal favorite matchup, just because of the two teams that are involved, the two coaches that are involved, and just to see their growth throughout 2023 and now going into 2024, starting so early. Both teams been loading up cards left and right everywhere. Just getting on as many shows as they can, putting their fighters out, really doing the work. If you're gonna be a team, and you're gonna call yourself mixed martial artists, you really have to do the work. It's almost what they're doing as a team, maybe not as individuals yet, because there's no stability in terms of our promotions, and we need more promotions to kind of do some of this stuff that I'm thinking about. But they remind me of the teams that you used to have back in the day in kickboxing, or even you can visualize in Muay Thai, where the guys are trying to, end the year at least with the team with at least 100 fights to say that their team was that busy. And that's amazing. That's how you get to 100 fights, is you actually have to fight. You hear about fighters who fight at least once a month, since they were 10 years old or 8 years old or whatever, and then you wonder how they were able to get hundreds of matches by the time they're adults. You hear about guys who participate in tournaments, and then you question, how did they get a fight? That's how you do it. You have to be in this game active. What's killing a lot of these guys, what kills a lot of teams as well, if they want to be competitive teams, is inactivity. So Matrix and they're not the only two teams that's killing it with activity, by the way, but they're the two teams that I pointed out last year, and they're really making me proud, because it makes me kind of look like this accidental genius. But this fight definitely has a lot of championship implication, with Brandon already being a champion from another organization, Pais fighting for a championship for another organization, and now they come to, fight for it to determine who is that one true champion. I love it. Let's go on. Okay, so this is a kickboxing fight. Maybe I talk about that one last. Oh, going through my list here. It is last. Okay. So, Osvaldo Gonzales from Matrix MMA taking on Brent Williams from Team Gemmo. Actually, there is one more fight. I'll let it be last. So Gonzales is 3-0 with Fight For It, I believe, currently. So he'll be going into his fourth fight, and he's going to fight the champ in the 35 kickboxing championship. So he's going to fight Brent Williams. And here's the thing. Brent's got a lot of experience from kickboxing to MMA. I just personally think that Osvaldo, he has pop now. He has pop. But in the one fight where he delivered this devastating knockout, I would say that opponent did not have the talents and the tools that Brent Williams has. Now, they have a common opponent in Dylan Williams, and Dylan Williams beat Brent Williams by KO, and Osvaldo dominated Dylan Williams. Maybe that's what Matrix is looking at, saying, I think that we can go in here and we have more power than Dylan Williams. I think that we can do the same thing to Brent Williams. Because in Brent's last fight, he won by rear naked choke over Javon Sanders, shout out to Sanders, who just picked up a title himself at Samurai Fighting Championship. Well, Javon lost to Brent, for a championship fight. But a lot of people pointed out, like, even though Javon was the grappler, the perceived grappler going into that fight, that he was able to outstrike Brent. That's the belief. A lot of people believe that Brent had to go to his grappling because Javon was actually outstriking him. And Javon's a really small, short guy. And if you look at his body type, you would almost say that he and Osvaldo, very similar. And with that in mind, you would almost say, Osvaldo has more power. I think he can get him out of there. I think he can get him out of there. Yeah. I believe that's the thinking. So that's my coach used to say, you got to fight these damn fights. But it's for a title. I'm not going to say Osvaldo doesn't deserve it. But I do want to remind people that Brent Williams has a lot of experience on both sides of the coin, And in my opinion, another thing I like about this fight is that at one point I thought Aaron Castro and Brent Williams should have got together and had like just a pure boxing match in MMA gloves, because I just thought their boxing skills were so on point. One of the things that Matrix MMA guys have, they have the hands. So this is going to be a fight where that boxing gets tested from Brent Williams. And because it's kickboxing, he's not going to have the ability to go to the ground. But where I think he has the advantage, where there's a separation, is going to be in the kick. Definitely in the kick. Matrix boys don't kick as much, right? So that's where Brent probably will use his height, range, kick the legs a lot, push kicks to the body, kick the legs a lot, and fight with the hands no more than he needs to, and probably smother with the clinch, and just keep Gonzales at the end of his strikes. Take the fight to the late rounds, where Gonzales doesn't know anything about, but Brent knows about on several occasions in multiple championship fights. So that championship thread is there, but the favor goes to Brent Williams. Honestly, I got one more fight I want to look at. Got that championship thread, and this one I got from BigSmartStart.com, and this one shocked me. Did not see this fight until this morning. It was not on the Fight For It update page. Now, it is Cody Reece taking on Thomas Gantt. I'm not sure the status of this fight. If it's a pro fight or if it's an amateur fight. I am not 100% sure on the status. Because Cody is 8-0 in MMA and potentially could be looking to go pro. However, Gantt only has 3 fights. And I know he's out of New York, but he's training down here because he's a wrestling coach for NC State. I don't know if they're waiving, the ability to go pro. For right now, it's listed as an amateur fight. So I'm going to go with the idea that it's an amateur fight. I don't see anything anywhere that says it's a championship fight. All right. Now, it would be fun if it was. But right now, it's saying that it's a 3-round fight. But here's why I'm pointing out the championship fight. Thomas Gantt just recently picked up a 170 title at Flex Fighting Series. And we know Cody is the Fight For It 170 champion. Picked up the title at the end of last year at Fight For It 17. And Gantt, hell of a wrestler. And we know Cody is a hell of a mixed martial artist. And normally, a guy who's 7-0 taking on a 3-0 wouldn't make sense on the surface until you get behind the numbers and you look at Gantt's wrestling This guy has a 90% winning ratio in his senior year. Now, he's a coach now, but in his senior year back in 2016, this guy had a 90% winning ratio. When I tell you that Marcelo has done an outstanding job of threading all these fights together, and when you look at what's common in all these fights I just talked about, is that championship pedigree threaded throughout all of these fights. And I guarantee you, some of this he didn't even know. I think in Marcelo's mind, he was just trying to make good fights that people want to see. I don't know how many fights we have total on the card. If we have nearly 20 MMA fights, I'm wondering what the kickboxing looks like. I'm wondering how many kids fights we're going to have. And if we have kids fights, you're going to have people in that building. Everybody wants to see their little nephew or little niece boogie down. Winston-Salem, North Carolina. It's going to be an amazing time. March 16th is Fight For It 19. I am Coach Sess, and you've had words with the Mad Coach.